If you've got a PlayStation 3 and a friend, this list was made just for you.
These next tests require cooperation. Consequently, they have never been solved by a human.
Here are the best local co-op and split-screen PlayStation 3 games ranked. Number 10, Resident Evil 6. Resident Evil 6 is viewed by many to be the breaking point of the franchise, when the horror completely evaporated, leaving only the iconography of Resident Evil, now under the glitz of 2012 AAA production. This game is so audacious in its design that it almost warrants a playthrough. Almost. To really make the most of this questionable Resident Evil entry, you'll also want to bring a buddy along for the popular co-op. First seen in Resident Evil 5, this version of co-op is arguably better than before. That's the funny thing about Resident Evil 6. It's not a good game, but tack on another player and boom, it's a great time. Go figure. Number 9, Splunky. Splunky briefly took over the internet when Moshmouth launched its ode to the offbeat classy Splunker. And while that game was a solo experience, this well-received homage allows up to 4 players to enter darkened mines and trap-laden temples in the quest for buried treasure. Splunky was not exactly the most forgiving game when it was released in 2008, and this becomes more obvious when players bounce back and forth accidentally or not so accidentally, spoiling a player's run. This is a great single-player game, but also it's a party classic, and all you need are a few extra PlayStation 3 controllers. Number 8, Call of Duty World at War. Following the runaway success that was Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare in 2007, 2008's Call of Duty World at War didn't receive nearly as much attention due to the alarmingly steady sales of the previous year's game. But those that did play World at War on the PlayStation 3 discovered the new and exciting Zombies mode. Best of all, players could share a split screen to fight back the dead. I suppose this is the one time where looking at the other person's screen isn't just allowed, it's encouraged. For a series mostly centering on internet play these days, World at War felt like a game built with co-op in mind. Number 7, Diablo III. Look, if people are still playing Diablo and Diablo 2, then you can bet Diablo 3 holds up just fine. Blizzard Games' third entry in the series certainly had some rough patches on the PC. So, in a bit of irony, the PlayStation 3 and its local co-op gave players a much better launch than Battle.net's Error 37. Look it up, kids. If you've not played a Diablo before, you'll be going around a fantasy location, battling hordes upon hordes of mythical creatures, loading up on loot and weapons, and playing the exact same campaign over and over and over again for about a decade. Seriously, people will never stop playing Diablo. Number 6, Far Cry 3. What is the definition of insanity? It's your humble narrator making this reference and you expecting a different result. Speaking of expectations, Far Cry 3 blew past the franchise's establishing games, becoming the default template for the entire series. And one of those aspects was the new split-screen multiplayer. Far Cry has gone on to be ever popular as an online co-op game, but there's just something extra special about being attacked by a tiger in-game and turning to your friend in real life on your couch in complete shock. Hey, by the way, before we go, do you happen to know the definition of insanity? Number 5, Borderlands 2. Borderlands 2 shares much in common with the aforementioned Diablo 3. In it, players scourge for loot, complete quests, and generally try to survive whatever harsh campaign they're up against. Where Borderlands 2 differs, however, is its first-person shooter gameplay and cartoonish graphics. Oh, and it's funny. Or at least it tries to be funny. Can't please everyone. Best of all, you'll be able to enjoy this journey via split screen on the PlayStation 3. Borderlands 2, its antagonist Handsome Jack, and the Tiny Tina DLC are considered the series' high points even all these years later. So if you like Borderlands 3, circle back to your PlayStation 3 and bring a friend. Number 4, Rayman Legends. When Rayman Legends was first announced, it quickly caught the eye of the industry thanks to its gorgeous art and a risky return to the second dimension. Thankfully, it all paid off, and Rayman Legends became one of the most unique platformers available on the PlayStation 3. Its gameplay is an interesting mix of classic platformers, modern family games, and the endless runner genre. In short, it's a fairly simple game to understand, but this makes it all the more accessible for anyone looking to slap away a few hours with pals. Seriously, what is up with all the slapping? Number 3, Uncharted 3 Drake's Deception. Uncharted 3, while certainly a technical marvel in its day, has long since been ported to the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. So why bother digging out the old PlayStation 3 version? Because unlike those new ports, the original includes split-screen co-op, though its method of using indented screens is certainly a choice. You won't be digging into the third chapter of Drake's story, as that portion can only be played solo. But if you want to play a bit of Uncharted 3 local co-op with a friend, the PlayStation 3 is your only choice. Take that, PlayStation PlayStation 5. Number 2, Portal 2. Have you ever wondered why Steam kept asking if you owned a PlayStation 3? Well, look no further, as Portal 2 appeared to be the beginning of a long and fruitful relationship between Valve and Sony that pretty much ended there. But it did get us Portal 2's brilliant local co-op on the PlayStation 3. One of the most challenging bits of Portal 2's co-op is trying to describe your ideas and solutions to each of the Portal-based puzzles. That hurdle goes way down once you can physically point to the screen. Portal 2 is a classic, but if you skip the co-op, you missed half the game. Number 1, Little Big Planet. Which of the many Little Big Planet games on the PlayStation 3 did we select as the very best? Well, all of them. In a different time, it's not hard to imagine Little Big Planet would become a platform of sorts rather than a series of games, as its most celebrated and influential mode is its users' ability to create their very own levels and upload them online. Not unlike something an Italian plumber would do a few years later. But Little Big Planet stands out because it allows up to 4 Sackboy players to do their floaty jumps and accidentally knock each other into pits, except locally, together, as a family. And there you have it. Those are the 10 best local co-op and split-screen PlayStation 3 games ranked. You know, local co-op is so awesome because you just need one game, one console, and a friend. Well, let's keep clicking around here in Game Rant and see if you can find out if there's some coming down the line. And we'll see you next time.